Hey guys, it's me, Darth Something, back at you again with another cringe-worthy video. Today, I'm gonna be ranking all the Star Wars movies from worst to best. This list is probably gonna be very different from your list. But I mean, we're all allowed to have our own opinions. So there's no need for you to dislike the video and leave a comment saying that I'm not a real Star Wars fan. Also, I like all the Star Wars movies, even if I think some are way better than others. By the way, I'm not including the Clone Wars movie, but if I did include it, it would be at number 11. Oh, and I'm gonna be talking about spoilers for all of these movies, so if there's one you haven't seen yet, click away now. But now, let's get started. Okay, so at number 10, I have Attack of the Clones. First of all, the love story between Anakin and Padme is just terrible. I mean, the dialogue, it's just so bad. I mean, just look at the Sand speech. I get that Anakin's a Jedi and not supposed to know how to talk to girls, but my biggest problem with that scene isn't even his dialogue itself. It's the fact that they kiss right after he says it. But while this movie has a lot of bad stuff in it, like bad dialogue and bad acting, there's also some good stuff in it too. Like when Anakin's mom dies, and the Battle of Geonosis was really cool. Obi-Wan chasing after Jango was also pretty cool, I guess. And yeah, that's all I really got to say about Attack of the Clones. But now, at number 9, I have The Phantom Menace. Let's start by talking about some of the good things in this movie. First of all, the lightsaber fight between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Maul is great. This movie has way more practical effects than the other two prequels, though it still kinda uses a bit too much CGI. The pod racing was kinda cool, I guess. The music is great. And also, Darth Maul looks pretty cool, even though he was completely wasted in this movie. And some bad things are the acting was not the greatest at times. A lot of the special effects look really bad these days. Jar Jar is kinda annoying at times, though I've never really had that big of a problem with him. But yeah, that's why The Phantom Menace is at number 9. But now, moving on to number 8, we have The Force Awakens. So, as you've probably heard 1,000 times before, this movie is very similar to A New Hope. But I'm fine with that, because after the bad reception of the prequels, they wanted to show that they could make a movie like the originals. But I still kind of wish Darkler Base hadn't been in the movie. Now, the opening scene of The Force Awakens is really cool, and the stormtroopers in this movie can actually kinda aim. I like Finn in this movie. Kylo's a pretty good character in The Force Awakens, if you ask me. Rey's alright. I don't think she's a Mary Sue, to be honest. I mean, at times she can be a bit too powerful, but I still don't quite think she's a Mary Sue. I'm actually a really big fan of the lightsaber duel in this movie. I gotta be honest, while I do really like the heavily choreographed fights in the prequels, part of me kinda prefers the more realistic fights in the originals and the sequels. But yeah, The Force Awakens is a pretty good movie. It's not perfect, but it's good. Now, at number 7, I have Solo, a Star Wars story. Now, I think Alden Ehrenreich is actually a pretty good Han. Towards the start of the movie, his voice sounds a bit weird, but it gets better as the movie goes on. Donald Glover was also pretty good as Lando. I mean, none of these two are as good as Harrison Ford and Billy D. Williams, but I still think they're pretty good. The twist at the end with Maul was really cool, even though I got spoiled about it before seeing the movie. The scenes where they play Sabacc are pretty fun, and some of the action is pretty cool. That's all I'm really gonna say about Solos. Let's move on to number 6. Now, at number 6, I have Revenge of the Sith. A while ago, this was one of my favorite Star Wars movies, but now I just don't like it nearly as much as I used to. The first, maybe, I don't know, half of the movie is kinda there's not that much going on, well, except for the opening, and I guess Obi-Wan fighting Grievous, but I don't really think that battle is that good. It's after Anakin turns to the dark side, that the movie really gets good. But now, the movie has some cool action, some pretty good effects, though there's still some pretty bad ones. Ewan McGregor and Ian McDermott do a pretty good job in the movie, but there's still some bad dialogue and some performances in the movie are kinda meh. But the music in this movie is just so amazing. Listening to some of the music just gives me chills. I mean, this movie definitely has some of the best music in all of Star Wars. But yeah, I don't really have much more to say about The Revenge of the Sith. So let's just move on to number 5, where I have Return of the Jedi. So, Return of the Jedi is definitely a great film, but I don't like it quite as much as I used to. The opening is definitely way slower than the other films in the original trilogy, but I don't really care that much. Now, one thing in this movie that I'm not a very big fan of is the second Death Star. I mean, it just feels kind of like, really? You know what I mean? But it doesn't really bother me that much, so whatever. Now, I like the twist about Leia being Luke's sister, though I guess did kind of feel like it came out of nowhere. Some of the special effects in this movie are really good, but then there are a few really obvious paintings and, oh, some scenes where it's just really obvious the actors are standing in front of a blue screen, mainly the part over the Sarlacc pit. Ian McDermott in this movie is amazing as the Emperor. The Battle of Endor is amazing, and the lightsaber duel in this movie is definitely one of my favorite lightsaber duels. Vader's redemption was amazing. That's it. That's all I really got to say about Return of the Jedi. Let's move on to number 4. Now, at number 4, I have Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope. The original. Without this movie, there would be no Star Wars. And that's a world none of us would want to live in. I genuinely do not know what my life would be like without Star Wars. But now, this movie is kind of slow in comparison to modern movies, but I really don't care that much. Because the characters are just amazing and the story is also really good. The movie still has some pretty fun action. The space battle at the end was really good and one of my favorite space battles in Star Wars. The opening scene with the Star Destroyer is also amazing. And A New Hope also has amazing special effects for its time. I don't really know what more I can really say about this film. It's just really great. But now, at number 3, we have The Empire Strikes Back. This is probably the most well-made of the Star Wars movies, but it's just not my personal favorite. So, this is definitely one of the darkest Star Wars movies. And I really like that because I just love movies where the bad guy wins. I'm not quite sure why. So, Vader in A New Hope was just kind of a cool looking bad guy, but there wasn't really much more to him than that. But after this movie, he was just so much more than a cool looking bad guy. I love how he basically kills his officers just for failing him. His duel with Luke was great. Yoda in this movie is also amazing. I mean, he's so wise and he gets some really good lines. And you can't talk about this movie without talking about the big twist at the end, where Vader tells Luke that he is his father. Spoiler alert, by the way, but whatever. This is just such an amazing twist. Unfortunately, I've always kinda known this, so when I first watched the movies, I already knew that. So that sucks, but whatever. But now, moving on to number 2, I have The Last Jedi. I know, a lot of people really don't like this movie, and that's fine. So please don't just leave a dislike on the video and leave a comment about how I'm not a real fan, please. But now, I really like The Last Jedi. I really do. I mean, it's not a flawless film, but no movie is. This movie has so many twists and turns. I think Snoke's death was amazing. It was such a huge plot twist. I did not imagine something like that happening. I think it's probably the best twist in Star Wars since The Empire Strikes Back. I know a lot of people really wanted to know about his backstory, but I don't really care about that. And they'll probably make a book about it at some point. And then, of course, the fight with the Praetorian Guards was amazing. Definitely one of the best fights in Star Wars. I actually really like what they did to Luke. And, well, part of me wishes he didn't die. I also feel like, think about it. Snoke's dead, and Kylo just wouldn't be a threat if Luke was still alive. Plus, the whole part with the twin sons was just beautiful. Also, I love the whole twist about him being a force projection. I've already spent a lot of time talking about this movie, so let's just quickly go over some other stuff I really like in this movie. And dislike. I really liked the opening battle. The Yoda scene was great, and one of the only things I didn't really like in this movie was Canto Bight. It just wasn't nearly as good as the rest of the film. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about The Last Jedi. But now, finally, at number 1, I have Rogue One. I know that this isn't the most well-made of the Star Wars movies, but here's the thing. I don't care. This movie is just so much fun. I've heard some people say that the first 2 acts are boring and it's only really the last third where things start to really get enjoyable and that kind of stuff, but I definitely disagree. Whenever I watch this movie, I just feel so much enjoyment the whole time. There's not really 1 second even where I feel even slightly bored. I know that the characters aren't really that great, and yeah, that kind of sucks, but hey, at least K2 is still awesome, right? Also, the action in this movie is just amazing. The Battle of Scarif is one of my favorite battles in all of Star Wars. The effects are also really great. Well, most of the time. And the hallway scene with Vader is just, oh, so good. Even though I've probably watched it a bit too many times and it's kind of lost a bit of its magic for me. But yeah, I just really like Rogue One. And yeah, that's my list. You probably disagree with me, but that's okay. If you want to, you can let me know your list in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinion. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and maybe check out my other videos and maybe even subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always.